Hi guys, it's Hughesy Plays, and today it is A7X time. Avenged Sevenfold ranking discography. 7 albums of Avenged Sevenfold A7X that I am going to be ranking. So let's get to the number 7. At number 7, I'm going with an album that is a fantastic debut. It wasn't a major label, and this may alienate fans, but I do feel it's a cracking start to a career. I think it was about 10 grand to make, something like that. However, or 30. It was 30 grand to make, something like that. However, it's a good start, but it's underdeveloped and it doesn't really have identity. It's a fantastic album that it's a band finding their feet, and it's a band that are just basically saying this is what we can do. It's a mix. It has no FX vibes. It has the gothic vibe, which they would later turn into on Waking the Fallen on other albums. But it was experimentation, and sounding the seventh trumpet is at number 7fold. Yeah. Why I like this album? Well, there's a lot of reasons. There's so many random gems of genius, Lips of Deceit, Darkness Surrounding, there's Screams, Turn the Other Way, To the End of Rapture, fantastic songs. My favourite being Warmers on the Soul. What a song, very haunting, very gothic, with the piano, a great track. But there is so many good songs on this album, but it's underproduced and it's underdeveloped, and it's a band just getting the foot in the door, basically, saying this is what we can do, trying a lot of different experimentations. It just feels a little dim in production, and they would later get better at that. Maybe over the top, but better. At number 7, sounding the seventh trumpet. At number 6, we have the self-titled A7X album, Avenged Sevenfold. And this is literally like a theme park of Sevenfold. It's cartoonish, it's experimental, it's fun, literally with a wild ride, and the Americana, a lot of Americana in this album, and religious connotations. A great opener with critical acclaim, great singles, Almost Easy, Scream, Afterlife, Gunslinger. There is so many good songs on this album. However, there was a lot of wild cards. My favourite song on this is probably one of them, Brompton Cocktail. I love that song. Very, again, a lot of it Guns N' Roses vibe. They're definitely going for the stadium thing here, which would later be on Live at the LBC. And yeah, I mean, this all live. I've got all the other stuff as well, but Live at the LBC would showcase Sevenfold trying to go into the stadium vibe, and with songs like Critical Acclaim, definitely Guns N' Roses, Civil War vibe with the speaking bit and the religious connotations. They were going for that, and they were succeeding, but I felt at the expense of some of the material on this album, where it's a great wild ride of different songs, Gunslinger, Unbound, but I feel that the gothic roots was gone in this. There was a lot. It was more Americana, stadium, army. Let's go for the proud patriotic vibe, and let's forget the dark Tim Burton vibe, which is kind of A7X's calling. This is wild, but it feels more, I wouldn't say contrived, but a band that are becoming rich and knowing it at this point. But it's a good album, but it's in pecking order. It can be over the top, a little over manufactured. That's the way it comes across if you're comparing it to the other albums. But it's a fucking good record, don't get it. It's a cracking record. It's got a lot of creativity, a lot of imagination. It's like a band at the peak of the form in terms of musicianship and playing, in terms of the way they're going to play, and with confidence and creativity. And it sort of sounds like they're just drinking and playing at times, like just having the time of their lives, which, fair enough, but it does come at number 6. At number 5, this is an awesome album, and in terms of its simplistic approach to the 80s thrash mixed with obviously the new wave of metal. Hail to the King is a really good record, despite what Rob Flynn said at the time. Yeah, how's it going, Rob? How's it going, dude? Should have shut his mouth, because sad but true. Yeah, Metallica. Listen, if you can take the best of Metallica and still gain a large base of fans, Machine Head were just trying to do that with bands like Slayer and Pantera. What's the difference? Maybe they weren't as... And Machine Head tried new metal, and a lot say they sold out and failed. So for Rob Flynn to turn around and slate this album was a bit bitter. It came to number 1. It smashed the charts, and it made Sevenfold serious festival headliners, and well deserved, because Hail to the King, for its classical but simplistic approach, the classical in the guitar, the Beethoven vibe going on in that, the Sebastian Bach, in the riffage, but the groove and the Metallica orientation in Shepherds of Fire and in Hail to the King. They're mixing Megadeth here, they're mixing Guns N' Roses, we know this, but Requiem, Planets and Acid Rain are completely more of the operatic A7X, which you wasn't expecting at this point. Very different, very arty, very avant-garde. Crimson Day is a great song. So is Heretic, but Coming Home is a fantastic song. I love the riff in that. And Rob Flynn was clutching at straws with, oh, it sounds like Iron Maiden, oh, that sounds like Megadeth, oh, that sounds... For little bits, you could say certain songs. This Means War does sound like Sad But True, but the chorus doesn't. It's just dun, 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 dun. That's it. It's just the rhythm and a little bit of the riff. Shepherds of Fire, again, just monsters, simple songs that you can just groove to and rock to, and it was bare, stripped down. And it's a really good album. It's a mixed bag. It's sort of like this, in terms of there are some avant-garde, then there are some simplistic songs, and it's not as cohesive as other albums. At number 4, it's the ultimate ode to the Rev. People may notice for Rev the, you could call it whatever you want, call it. I just think this, given that the album was wrote before, during Rev's being alive, it's such a fitting tribute. Some of the songs are daunting, helped more by the fact of Rev's passing, but not going on that as a way to build the album up, but you can't really escape it. However, Nightmare comes in at number 4, and you may be surprised by that there are albums above this album, because this album is truly terrific in terms of its scale, in terms of its playing ability, in terms of its dark vibes, in terms of the passion they put into it, and they tried to complete it with Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater, who came in to help for a little bit, wanting to stay true to the songs and do them the way that the Rev had wrote them. I've seen the Rev twice live, so I saw him at Leeds Festival the second time when they played 4 songs, and the little story for you, there's a blonde girl there, and she's like, we were dancing, and you know, anyway, we play it. But we don't, because I'm so concentrated on Sinister Gate's guitar solo. She's like, do you want to dance? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just concentrating. I was just concentrating on the solo. Man. Yeah. Rule number one, go get her a drink and then enjoy the solo. But at the time, I was like, whoa, A7X. They was on there for 4 songs, and then they left because they was playing the Kerrang Awards the night before. Basically, I think they was hungover. And that's why they only played a few songs, because his throat sounded hoarse, but they sounded awesome. If that was them on a bad day, yeah, I was later to see him on a good day at the MEN. Anyway, getting rid of that, this album is a fantastic, has great layers, even the songs where I'm not really a big fan of Natural Born Killer or God Hates Us, they're good songs, but I like Victim, Buried Alive, Nightmare. I love Nightmare. When it first came out, I was a bit half and half, but then the more you play it on guitar and the more you get into it, it's Tim Burton, but it's dark, and it's just wild, and Sevenfold never cared what people thought. They just did their own thing. They've got the market, they've got the Halloween thing, but it's not a cheap thing. The songs have to be good and well played, and they always were with A7X. Tonight the World Dies is a good sort of grungy vibe in it there. Fiction, which is really sad because it has Rev's voice. Save Me is a fantastic ending. Even songs like The Danger Line and Welcome to the Family are amazing. They have brooding, atmospheric mantras at the end and turns and twists. You never know where you're going. It's a wild, dark theme, and Nightmare is a perfect Avenged Sevenfold album. It really is a good album. But then at number 3 is an album that came out unexpectedly, out of the blue, out of nowhere. They didn't really have to release this. They'd already been massive, but they thought, you know what, we're going to show them more than just simple, more simple of the thrash stuff. With more than that, of the hard rock thrash mainstream, we can do the experimentation. And well, because there's one thing being experimental, but if you suck, nobody's going to want to watch you live. This was experimentation gone right. What an album. It still takes listens. I still listen to it, and by each listen you're finding something different. There are songs on there I didn't like at first. It opens with The Stage, which is a fantastic piece of rock, opera, riffage. Just the whole show is on there. It's a great opener, which was solidified by their appearance at Manchester Arena, which I was there at the front row. There's a photo of me in a green jacket, and I've got that on there as well. It's quality, and I love it. And I were there, backed by Disturbed, who was fantastic that night. Yep, and In Flames. This album, for me, just said we can take all the aspects of every other album and go further into space, and that's kind of what they do. They go jazzy, they go funky, they go arty, they go Muse at times. There's a bit of Muse in Higher, which is one of my favourite songs. But it's a concept album which links well, and it never feels stale, even on the songs like Angels and Roman Sky, where it's slower. Fermi Paradox and Exist are fantastically emotional, sulphuric blast into the seams of Space Odyssey madness, and it's no wonder that they came out to Daft Punk when I saw them at the Manchester Arena. That was on the speaker, perfect with this. And this album just shut the core. It shut the core. Everyone thought it was gonna. They didn't know what to expect. It came out, not much promotion, not much advertisements. Then they came out with the Warner Brothers Batman style lights. It's just great imagery, great marketing scheme. There's lights on the buildings, and it was great. Nobody knew when it was gonna come, but it would come in, and it just hit you, and you was like, whoa. And this album is it's different to all the other albums. It still has the traits, but it's the most far out than all the other albums. And if you're into the far out stuff, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think it is, the space dude. I can't think of another name for him. So they've got his speech during Exist, and that is just such a. It's like apocalyptic. It's apocalypse. It's everything. It's like the remains of Sevenfold decide to come together, and the dust of Sevenfold, and form a nuclear A7X space odyssey tirade of excellence. How cool did that sound? Right, I've sold it enough. The Stage is a fantastic album. Paradigm, Sunny Disposition, god damn, great. Can't see the forest from the trees. It's just weird, but it works. And if it works and it's played well, and then Creating God, if it's played well, and yeah, it works more as a whole. I can't take one song away from this, and if you listen to it as a whole, it's phenomenal. And for me, it just edges Nightmare. It all, you can say Nightmare's better. I'm cool with that. If you say Nightmare's better, go with it. I just edge the Stage. I enjoy it more as a listen. And now we are getting to the top two, as we know. I've got to dissect and cipher and sort of go through why I think one's better than the other. I'd just say I prefer the listen of one to the other. It's just more of a ride and an easier ride to go along with. But at number 2, Waking the Fallen. When I first heard this, I was scared, and I actually traded it for a Top Gun soundtrack, believe that. And then about a year later, I got it back, because I thought, actually, that was good. And I saw him at Leeds Festival in the tent, and he blew everyone off stage that day, and you knew. So someone came out and said, they're going to be huge, and I said, yeah, you could see it. No surprise. This was, I'm not going to say Tim Burton again, because you're getting fed up with that, but this was A7X's second release on Hopeless Records. So this was actually before Warner Brother, but they were going for that sound, the epic, the market, the Tim Burton, the goth, the burlesque. But it worked. And why it worked was because the songs were so venomous, so brutal, but so catchy. And Insta tag Emo Maiden, which was floating around at the time. My mate Gaz said it. I thought it was really accurate. However, when you dig deeper, the guitar parts are something like I'd never heard before, played so intricately and so dark. And one of my favourite songs on the album, if not Second Heartbeat. There are so many. Clairvoyant Disease, I play it on guitar, I try it. It's such a beautiful riff, and dark and sad, and all the songs are really sad on this, but aggressive, and it just never lets go from start to finish, from dum 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 dum, from the brooding, from the beginning, the sound echoes, and it's ghostly and it's haunting and it's quite. And then you've got Unholy Confessions, you've got Chapter 4, you've got Reminiscence, you've got Desperate Through Reverence, you've got Eternal Rest, you've got Second Heartbeat. There's just so many, and it's metalcore, but it's frantic, and it's hard, it's daunting, and it's just everything you want in an A7X album. This was when you knew these were a force to be reckoned with. They were different from everybody else out there. Nobody sounded like A7X. This was before they sort of went into the Metallica vibe. Nobody sounded like them at the time. And what an album. What an album. And it ends with All Things Will End. And I really do want to listen to this now, actually, because it's such a good album. It's all great albums, just grab you from the beginning and never let go. Unholy Confessions was the perfect single. It was just simple enough, but rocking enough. Had the Maiden with the slightly Guns N' Roses, but a bit of My Chemical Romance in there at times. I will say that. Some of the emo, but Chapter 4, yeah, it just all reminiscence. Second Heartbeat will forever be, you know, another one. There's too many, even Eternal Rest and Desperate for Reverence, man, and Reminisce. Out in the eyes. And I Won't See You Tonight. My days, we've not even got on that yet. We're not even on that. It's a lot of effort. It sort of takes a lot out of you at this point. Like, whoa. But if you just listen to this album from start to finish, you are blown away by how good these guys can play. And at the time, they were online with Trivium. And listen, I like both bands, but I was definitely more A7X at the time. And I probably still am now, actually, if I think about it. But because they're just so different, and even though they do the Metallica, they still have their own niche to that. Okay. So which leaves me at number 1. And it has to be terrible cover, I'm not going to lie. It looks like a B. It looks like an album you would see in a library. It doesn't look really good. Sort of Paradise Lost vibe, that really cheap death metal band or something, or a gothic band, but it doesn't matter. They didn't care about the cover that much because the songs were made for an absolute roller coaster. Were they pushing above the weight at this time on their third opus, which followed Waking the Fallen? Maybe, but when I first heard Beast and the Harlot, I was absolutely blown away because the melody in this album is evident, and there's even Spanish guitar floating around a lot in this, a lot more than in other albums. It's got the burlesque, but it's also got a Victorian vibe about it. And the country, it's got the twang. It's just got musical. It's got cabaret. It's got metal. It's got hard rock. It's got punk. It's got goth. It's Guns N' Roses in there. Pantera vibes in there. Metallica vibes in there. Definitely Iron Maiden. What a roller coaster. It may be long, but man, it is just an absolute ride, and it's a band enjoying themselves again. But this was when the songs were good as well. It wasn't at the expense of the songs. It felt cohesive. You've got 3 monster singles: Beast and the Harlot, Backcountry, and Seize the Day. That's like a trilogy of like Good, the Bad, Ugly, the up-tempo, raunchy Beast and the Harlot with a great hook and a great melody, and sing-along. Then Backcountry, similar religious connotations in there. Sometimes I don't know why. We look towards the sky for answers to our lives and all that. Say what you want about that, but I like that. And then you've got Seize the Day, The Afterlife, The Death, and then Afterlife will come on the next album, but The Morning. And then songs like Trash Dance Scattered, and even songs like Burn It Down and Blinded in Chains are absolutely perfect numbers that may go on for too long, but they weren't hiding the fact that, listen, in this, we're just going to go all out and go for it, balls to the wall. We don't care what anyone thinks about the timing of it, how long it's going to be. It's just a roller coaster, and it's the album that made me get into him. So for me, it's always going to be the best because it's the one. That or Waking the Fallen I'm tied with, but this album is the one that really just made me. There was no other band at the time. I'd passed Slipknot at this point. I love Slipknot, but at this time, there was only one band I was really drawn to, and it was through this. I was really drawn to A7X through this album. I passed Oasis, nu metal, indie, stadium rock, and then I went on this, and I felt like it was just something so different at the time. The playing style was classical. It wasn't standard Slash solos. You had a bit of that, but then you had Randy Rhoads in there. You've got Mylnstein in there. You've got a lot of different styles coming into the equation with Sinister Gates riffage. Zakk Wylde as well. Just fantastic, like, phrasing and fantastic feel. And And fantastic arrangements. Nobody ever says that about Sinister Gates. The arrangements are more important than the solos themselves. It's very Randy Rhoads. It's very emotional. It's very dark. It's very Burton, but it's very classical and it's different. But it doesn't go too far into the classical, so it does the arrangements, but keeps it simple, just enough for you to like a hook, and that's the coolness of it. Sidewinder, again, the wicked end, strength of the world. Listen, it's gonna be over the top. This album is pure over the top, but the music comes first on this album. Also, the music definitely is just hard rocking. It's more of a hard rock metal album. It's less metalcore, more hard rock. There are no screams on this. It doesn't really matter because there's wails. He doesn't have to do the metalcore screams to solidify himself as a good singer. Matt Heafy changed. You grow. You change to the music. If you're getting a bigger fan base and people don't want to hear the screams, then it's not selling out. However, it's just adapting and playing the game and changing. No, they didn't play the game that much because the songs were still Sevenfold. They were long, so they weren't going for instant radio appeal. Because while they do the wicked end and Sidewinder, but this is just like Batman on speed, guys. This is and the Crow and all of that imagery you get when listening to this album. I've said enough. It's fantastic. It's #1 in my A7X discography. 26 minutes. I could have gone shorter, but listen, I didn't want to paper over no cracks. I wanted to say exactly what I wanted and about each album. And listen, that's my reasoning for it. Do you agree or do you disagree? Put it under there. Tell me why. Why does it suck? Why does it rock? Use your plays. Check me out on Battle Rap Resume. I am on that on Checkpoint 5 on the podcast. It's on YouTube. I'll probably put the link under there. And check me out on Metallica's podcast, Alphabetalica. I am on that. I'll put that under there as well. It's on Spotify. I am reviewing Donington 95. Little plug for you there. And Full Time Devils. I've been on that as well. Just what can you do, guys? You know, we got a voice. Use it. Right. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I really enjoyed discussing A7X. Because there was a time where nobody could touch them. And I can't wait for the new album. Peace.